The monster in chains. The great council chamber of the galaxy was filled with fear. Leaders from 100 worlds had gathered, their voices sharp, their eyes fixed on the massive figure being dragged inside. The alien beast was chained with glowing bands of energy, each link humming with power. Even with all that, the guards trembled as they pulled it forward. The floor shook under its weight, and every step echoed like thunder. They called it dangerous. They said it had destroyed ships, crushed soldiers, and spread terror wherever it went. To the galaxy, it was not a living being, it was a monster. The crowd whispered the same words again and again. It must be killed. But in that hall, standing among the many voices of hate, there was one human. He did not shout for blood. He did not cry for vengeance. He only watched the beast carefully. Where others saw rage and destruction, the human noticed something different. Behind the growls, behind the glowing eyes, he saw fear. The beast struggled, but not like a predator, hungry for blood. It pulled at its chains like a wounded animal, trapped, surrounded, and hopeless. The leaders of the galaxy did not care. They raised their hands and declared, "Execution!" The human stepped forward. His boots echoed across the floor. The entire chamber fell silent, for no one expected a human to move closer. The guards tightened their grips, their weapons raised, ready to fire at the first wrong move. The beast lowered its head, and a deep growl shook the room. Everyone waited for the attack. But the human did something none of them could imagine. Slowly, calmly, he reached into a pouch at his side and pulled out something small. Food. It was not a weapon. It was not a tool of war. It was a simple piece of bread, brought from his own ship. The council gasped. "What is this madness?" shouted one alien leader. "That creature cannot be tamed. It will rip him apart." Others laughed cruelly, eager to see the human torn to pieces. The human ignored them. Step by step, he moved closer to the beast. The chains rattled. The guards shouted warnings. The alien monster bared its teeth, saliva dripping from its mouth. Every muscle in its massive body tensed. The crowd leaned forward, waiting for blood. But then, something changed. The beast did not strike. Its glowing eyes focused on the bread in the human's hand. Its breathing slowed, heavy and uncertain. The human did not flinch. He held out the food with steady hands, his voice calm, speaking not in words of command, but in words of peace. "Easy, you're not alone." The chamber was so silent that every heartbeat could be heard. The alien beast tilted its head, its nostrils flared. For the first time in the council's history, the monster did not roar, did not fight. It sniffed at the food, uncertain but curious. The guards shouted for the human to step back. The council screamed for execution, but the human stood his ground. He did not fear the beast, not in that moment. And slowly, carefully, the creature opened its mouth, then closed its jaws around the bread, taking it gently from the human's hand. Gasps filled the chamber. The impossible had just happened. The beast chewed, then lowered its massive head. Its chains still glowed, its power still great, but its eyes were no longer wild. For the first time, they looked almost calm. The human reached forward again, his hand brushing the beast's skin. Where others expected violence, they saw something else, trust beginning to form. The silence of the council broke into chaos. Some shouted in rage, some shouted in fear. A few whispered in awe. The alien beast had been sentenced to death. Yet here it was, sitting quietly, accepting food and touch from a human. The galaxy could not believe its eyes. And in that moment, as the human stood beside the chained creature, a question filled the minds of all. Had they been wrong? Was this beast truly a monster, or had fear blinded them all along? The chamber burned with voices of anger, confusion, and disbelief. But the human did not look at them. His eyes remained on the beast, and his voice was soft but certain. Not every chain is made of metal. Sometimes the strongest chains are made of fear, and fear can be broken. The beast lifted its head, meeting the human's gaze. Something unspoken passed between them. A bond had begun. But the council was not ready to accept it. Their eyes were filled with suspicion and their hearts with hate. They had demanded death. They had demanded blood. And now, faced with the truth of what kindness could do, they felt threatened. In the shadows of that chamber, the future was already changing. Humanity had taken its first step toward proving that compassion could defeat fear. But the galaxy was not ready. Not yet. The human knew this was only the beginning. The human choice. The council chamber did not calm after the shocking moment. Instead, it turned into chaos. Leaders shouted over one another, their voices echoing against the high ceiling. Some demanded the human be punished for defying orders. Others screamed that the beast's reaction was only a trick, a trap before it struck again. Fear filled every corner of the hall. But the human did not move. He stood quietly beside the chained beast, his hand still resting against its rough skin. The creature no longer growled. Its massive chest rose and fell slowly, as if it understood something no one else in the room could. "Enough," one council elder shouted, slamming a clawed hand onto the table. His eyes burned with anger. "This monster has killed countless lives. No act of pity can erase that. It must die." The human turned, his expression calm but firm. His voice carried across the chamber. "You see only a monster because you never tried to see more. But I did. And I saw fear, not rage. This creature is not evil. It is suffering." The council erupted again. Some hissed, others roared in disbelief. To them, humans were known for bravery, yes, but also recklessness. This act seemed beyond reason. One alien commander leaned forward, his metallic armor shining under the lights. "Human, you risk the lives of every species in this hall. You stand alone, protecting a beast that should be destroyed. Why?" The human's eyes hardened. "Because someone has to. Because fear has ruled this galaxy for too long. We destroy what we do not understand. That must end." The beast shifted, chains rattling, but it did not strike. Instead, it pressed, its head slightly closer to the human. The gesture was small, yet it shook the chamber more than any roar could. The council whispered in panic. Was this monster choosing the human? One elder spat in disgust. "It is a trick. This human plays with fire. One mistake and that creature will tear him apart. We cannot risk it." But even as voices rose higher, the human reached into his pouch again. This time, he placed the food on the floor and stepped back. Every eye followed. The beast sniffed, then bent down and ate without hesitation. When it finished, it did not attack. Instead, it lifted its head, staring at the human as though waiting for more. The silence grew heavy. The human spoke again, softer this time, almost like he was speaking, only to the beast. "They call you dangerous, they want you gone, but I will not turn away." The alien commanders grew restless. They did not like what they were seeing. One turned sharply to the guards. "Raise your weapons. If the beast moves, shoot it, and shoot the human if he interferes." Gasps filled the chamber. The human had not only risked his own life. Now, he was directly challenging the will of the galaxy's most powerful council. But instead of fear, the human smiled faintly. "If you kill us both, then you prove my point. You show that fear is stronger than reason." His voice grew stronger. "But if you let me try, you may see something greater than fear. You may see trust." The council hesitated. None of them wanted to admit curiosity, but all of them felt it. For the first time, they saw the beast's eyes not as weapons of hate, but as eyes of a living being. The tension was unbearable. Then one council leader, a being of sharp scales and cold wisdom, spoke slowly. "Very well, human. You want to prove this? Then prove it. But know this. If you fail, your life ends with that creature's." The human nodded. He did not flinch. "Agreed." The chains were not removed. But the council allowed the human to continue feeding and speaking to the beast under strict watch. Each day more food was given. Each day the beast grew calmer. What once had been growls of fury became quiet rumbles of patience. The other species watched with suspicion. Some whispered that humans had a strange gift, a way of connecting with life others could not. Others muttered that it was a dangerous trick, a human weakness that would soon explode. But the galaxy could not ignore what it saw. The beast, once feared as unstoppable destruction, now lowered its head to a human's touch. It listened when the human spoke. It sat still when ordered to stay. It even pushed back against guards who tried to strike the man. Every moment built more tension. Whispers turned into rumors, and rumors turned into fear. The question spread across the stars. What if the humans were right? What if this monster was never a monster at all? But the council would not allow the story to end there. They decided on a test, one so cruel, one so absolute, that even the human would not escape its weight. The beast and the human would be placed together in the arena with no chains, no guards. If the creature killed, both would die instantly. If it did not, then perhaps the galaxy would listen. The announcement shook the chamber. Many called it justice. Others called it madness. But the human simply looked at the beast, then back at the council, and gave only one answer. I accept. And with those words, the fate of human and beast was sealed. The galaxy prepared to watch. Some hoped to see blood. Some hoped to see truth. But all knew one thing for certain. Whatever happened in that arena, it would change. Everything. Kindness against fear. The arena of the council was a place of judgment. It was built not for sport, but for decisions that would shape the galaxy. The walls were made of black stone, tall and unbroken, designed to hold even the strongest of beasts. Today, every seat was filled. Leaders, soldiers, and common citizens had come to watch. They wanted to see proof. Proof that the alien beast was dangerous, or proof that the human was a fool. The gates opened with a heavy rumble. The beast stepped into the center, chains removed for the first time. Its massive body tensed, muscles rippling under thick skin. Its eyes glowed with power. The crowd gasped as it roared, a sound that shook the walls and rattled every soul. And then from the opposite gate the human entered. Alone. No weapon, no armor. Only calm steps carrying him closer to the creature the galaxy feared. The silence that followed was suffocating. The beast turned its head. Its glowing eyes locked onto the human. For a moment the arena held its breath. This was the instant the council had prepared for. If the beast attacked, the human would be dead in seconds. But the human did not stop. He walked to the center, his hands open, his gaze steady. Every soldier hidden behind the walls tightened their triggers, ready to fire at the first sign of blood. The beast lowered its head. Its massive claws dug into the ground. It growled, the sound echoing like thunder. The human stopped only a few steps away. He looked into the beast's eyes and spoke softly. You don't need to fight. Not today. The crowd leaned forward. The beast's growl grew louder, its chest rising like a storm building in the sky. Then it moved, fast, powerful, charging toward the human. The arena exploded with screams. The soldiers raised their weapons. The council shouted for fire, but in the final second the human raised a hand, not in defense, not in fear, but in trust. And the impossible happened. The beast stopped. Its claws tore the ground as it halted just inches from the human. Its hot breath washed over him. Its massive head lowered until it nearly touched his chest. The human reached out slow and steady and placed his hand on its snout. The arena froze. Not a sound, not a whisper. Only disbelief. The beast, once feared as the destroyer of colonies, pressed its head against the human's hand. It did not strike. It did not kill. It leaned closer, almost bowing, as if accepting the human as its equal, or its protector. The silence broke into chaos. Some shouted in awe, others in rage. The council elders argued, their voices clashing like weapons. But no voice could erase what the galaxy had just seen. The human stood tall, his hand resting gently on the beast. This is what fear blinded you from. You saw only a monster. But look, there is trust here. There is peace. The beast growled, again, but it was no longer the sound of fury. It was a warning. Guards who moved too close were forced back by its heavy roar. The crowd trembled. The beast was not defending itself, it was defending the human. Whispers spread like wildfire. Was it possible? Had the humans found a way to touch even the most feared creature in the stars? But not everyone believed. In the shadows of the council, powerful voices plotted. Leaders whose power came from fear could not allow this moment to stand. If the galaxy learned that even monsters could be tamed by kindness, then fear would lose its grip. And without fear, their control would fade. So they whispered to one another. This must end. If not now, then soon. Kill the beast. Kill the human if necessary. Do not let this truth spread. The human, unaware of their secret words, stayed with the beast, feeding it small scraps of food, speaking in a calm tone. Every action was simple, but in its simplicity was power. He was showing the galaxy something greater than war. He was showing them compassion. But as the council debated, as soldiers waited, as the galaxy held its breath, one thing became clear. This was not the end. This was only the beginning. The bond between the human and the beast was no longer a moment of chance. It was real, strong, growing. And the more it grew, the more dangerous it became to those who ruled with fear. That night, as the human returned to his quarters under heavy guard, whispers followed him. Some called him mad, others called him a savior. Many simply called him dangerous. But the beast, locked again behind reinforced gates, did not roar. It did not fight. It lay quietly, waiting for the human's return. And somewhere in the council's chambers, plans were already forming. The test had failed to prove the beast a monster. Instead, it had proved something far more frightening. That humanity, with its strange courage and unshakable kindness, could change the very nature of fear itself. And those in power knew. They had to act before it was too late. The test. Of loyalty, the arena trial was not enough. The beast had spared the human, and the galaxy had seen it. Whispers spread across the stars, and for the first time people questioned what they had been told. If the monster could choose mercy, then maybe the galaxy had been wrong. The council, however, could not allow doubt. Their power came from fear, and fear was slipping away. So behind closed doors they created a new trial. Not a test of strength this time, but a test of loyalty. The human was summoned again. Standing tall in the chamber, he listened as the highest elder announced, "The creature will be set free. No chains, no guards. You, human, will remain beside it. If it turns on you, the truth is revealed. If it protects you, then perhaps it may live." The human narrowed his eyes. He understood their plan. This was not about truth. It was about forcing the beast to fail. But he did not back down. "I accept." The next day, the trial began. The gates opened once more, and the beast stepped out, unchained. Its claws scraped the ground, its glowing eyes scanning the arena. The human stood beside it, calm and unarmed. But this time, something was different. Soldiers surrounded the arena, hidden weapons ready. The council claimed they were there for safety. But the human knew the truth. They were waiting for an excuse to kill. The crowd roared as the test began. Suddenly, the council signaled, and a massive hologram appeared in the center. It showed cages filled with smaller creatures, weak, terrified alien animals. The voice of the elder echoed, "If this beast is truly loyal, it will not kill. Release the creatures." The cages opened, and the animals scattered in panic. The crowd gasped. This was a trap. The beast's instincts would take over, and once it attacked, the council would declare it unfit to live. The beast roared, its body trembling with instinct. The animals ran across the arena floor. their cries sharp with fear. Soldiers raised, their weapons ready for the beast's first strike. But the human stepped forward. He placed his hand against the beast's chest. His voice was steady, calm, but powerful. "No, you don't need to fight them. You are more than your fear. You are more than your hunger. Trust me." The beast froze. Its glowing eyes darted between the animals and the human. Its claws flexed, scraping deep marks into the stone. The crowd shouted in panic. Would it kill? Would it resist? Seconds passed like hours, and then, with a shuddering growl, the beast turned away from the prey. It let the animals scatter unharmed. The arena fell silent. The council could not believe it. The trial had failed. Instead of proving the beast dangerous, it had proven something greater, that it chose kindness just as the human had shown it. But the council was not finished. The elder stood, his voice sharp and cruel. "Enough tricks. Release the soldiers." Hidden. Doors burst open and armored warriors stormed into the arena. Their orders were clear. Kill the beast, kill the human, and bury the truth. The human raised his arms, shouting, "Stop! This is not a test. It is murder." But no one listened. The soldiers raised their blasters and fired. In that moment, the beast moved, not with rage, not with mindless fury, but with loyalty. It threw itself between the human and the soldiers. Energy blasts struck its hide, burning deep wounds. But it did not fall. It shielded the human with its massive body, roaring so loudly, the very arena shook. The human pressed his hand against the beast, shouting words that cut through the chaos. "Hold on, I will not let them take you." The soldiers hesitated, fear in their eyes. This was not the monster they had been told about. This was a protector, a guardian. The crowd erupted. Some screamed for the killing to stop. Others shouted that the human and beast had proven their bond. The council elders shouted louder, desperate to control the narrative. But the truth was visible to all. The beast had chosen humanity, even at the cost of its own life. Smoke filled the arena. The beast staggered, its chest rising and falling heavily. Blood dripped onto the stone. Yet still it stood over the human, refusing to move aside. And in that moment, the galaxy understood something terrifying and beautiful. If humanity could tame even the most feared monster in the stars, then what else could they do? The council saw their control slipping, and in their desperation they made a choice that would change everything. "Enough," the elder roared. "If the beast will not kill the human, then both shall be destroyed. Fire all weapons." Hundreds of soldiers raised their blasters. The crowd screamed in horror. The beast roared one final time, preparing to shield the human again. And the human whispered, steady and calm even in the face of death, "If we fall today, we fall together, but they will know the truth." The order was given. Weapons glowed, and the fate of human and beast balanced on the edge of fire. Humanity's lesson to the galaxy. The command was given. Hundreds of soldiers raised their blasters, their weapons glowing bright, the arena echoing with the sound of power charging. The crowd screamed in terror, but the council elders shouted louder, their voices filled with anger and fear. This was their final move. If the beast and the human died here, then the truth would die with them. The human looked up at the beast. The creature's body was torn, scorched from blaster fire, but still it stood, its massive frame blocking the soldiers' aim. It pressed closer to the human, its eyes glowing not with rage but with loyalty. The human whispered, his voice shaking but strong, "You don't stand alone. Not anymore." And then, as the soldiers prepared to fire, something incredible happened. The beast roared, a sound so deep and thunderous it shook the walls of the arena. But it wasn't a roar of rage, it was a call, a cry that echoed across the stars. And in that moment, something answered. Above the arena, shadows moved. Dozens of ships, small and hidden until now, decloaked in the skies. Not warships, not fleets of destruction, but ships filled with creatures like the beast, its kind. They had heard the call. They had come. The crowd gasped, eyes lifted to the heavens. For the first time, the galaxy saw the truth. This beast was not alone. It had a people, a family. And if it had a family, then perhaps it was never the monster they believed. The soldiers hesitated, fear and confusion in their ranks. The council shouted new orders, desperate to control the chaos. Fire! Destroy them all! But before the first shot could be unleashed, the human stepped forward. He placed himself fully in front of the beast, arms raised high, his voice echoing through the arena. Stop. The word carried like thunder, not because of power, but because of truth. The crowd fell silent, soldiers froze, and even the beast lowered its head, waiting. The human's voice grew stronger. You have lived in fear for too long. You feared what you did not understand. You called this creature a monster because it was easier than asking why. But today, you all saw it. You saw loyalty, you saw compassion, and you saw a bond that no weapon could break. The beast growled softly behind him, not in anger but in support. The human continued, his words cutting through the council's rage. You tried to kill us to protect your lies, but fear has no power here anymore. What has power is kindness. What has power is trust. The soldiers looked at one another, their hands trembled on their weapons. Many lowered their blasters. The crowd erupted, not in screams of fear this time, but in cheers. Cheers for the human, cheers for the beast, cheers for something greater than fear. The council elders shouted, demanding silence, but their voices were drowned out. The truth had spread beyond their control. The galaxy had seen it. The monster was not a monster. Humanity had proven it. The beast lifted its head, standing taller despite its wounds. Its glowing eyes burned with pride as it leaned close to the human, pressing its head gently against his shoulder. It had chosen. And the galaxy knew it. The soldiers could no longer obey. One by one, they dropped their weapons. The elders shouted in fury, but their power was gone. The council chamber shook with the sound of 1,000 voices chanting one truth. Let them live. The human turned back to the beast, his voice soft. They will never see you the same way again. You're free now. The gates opened, not with chains and guards, but with the sound of a crowd that no longer believed the lies. The beast walked out, its steps heavy but proud, the human by its side. Above, its kind circled the skies, no longer hiding in shadows. The galaxy had changed. That day, humanity had taught the stars a lesson that no fleet, no weapon, no council could erase. Sometimes the greatest power is not in destruction but in compassion, not in chains but in trust, not in fear but in kindness. And so the story of the monster ended not in death, but in hope. The beast lived, the human survived, and together, they walked into history, not as enemies but as proof that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, humanity's greatest weapon was its heart.